information you need to find is whether the product is exported. We talked about this in class, and you have a couple of ways you can find this information. It's literally printed in your Ag Business course book, but if you'd rather look at the electronic version, you can find it two ways. You can go back to our original source of our California agricultural production statistics and click on California agriculture exports. And again, if we're looking for a particular product, we can just use the find key. I don't know if we have any pear exports, but we'll find out. Indeed we do. And so we can look at the headings and find out that for the last, you need to report the last 3 years. So 2009, 2010, 2011. And it also gives you an idea of the change for the last 2 years reported from 2010 to 2011. So you can get that data. Another place to find basically the same information, well, we'll hold off on that for a second. We can scroll through here and look to find where pears, what other tables pears shows up in. It also gives us an idea of how pears rank in terms of its total export value and the California share. With this, be careful to report the 2011 data. I don't really care about 2010 for that part. So look 2 columns over and report the 2010 data. And we can see that this is a $210 million export total, and that for pears, and that California has 13.5% of the total exports from the United States. And if we keep looking through, we can find where the main destinations are: Canada, Mexico, and then other destinations would just be a lot of other smaller countries that don't buy enough to figure in their own, to have their own line item. So that's how you find the export information. To find the primary forms of transportation for the product, we're going to head back to the Agricultural Marketing Service. There are several resources we can use depending on what type of product you're looking for. There is a link for agricultural transportation. Most of the information right here is going to deal with grain. So if you have oats, barley, wheat, you can get a good idea of how those products are transported. Transportation of U.S. grains, a modal share analysis is going to tell you how much went by rail, how much went by truck, how much went by other types, barge traffic. So that will help you with some of the grain products, other agricultural products. The refrigerated truck quarterly can give you some information about fruits and vegetables. Sometimes finding information for the livestock is a little bit more challenging, so you might need to come see me. Sometimes the Food Safety Information System is the best source. To get a good idea on how to find fruit and vegetable and any fresh product transportation, we're going to go back to the Fruit and Vegetable Market News portal. And there's something called the Daily Movement Report, and we can access that either here under the report type, or we can access it here under the popular reports. There's also a truck rate report. Well, let's skip that for the moment. We'll come back to it. Let's look at the Daily Movement Report. So again, we can either look at different dates. If your product is not in season, you should go back to when it was most recently in season. If you know you have a fruit, so we're keeping in the pear world right now. And these are listed alphabetically. And it's 17 pages long, so you can scroll through. This isn't in a regular PDF viewer, so we can't do the find function right now. This measures all of the shipments that are moving both into the country, out of the country, and through the country by origin, and also by the type of shipment it uses, the type of transportation it uses. So we're at oranges, so pears can't be too far away. Here we go, pears. So this can be a little difficult to understand. So we have pears from Northern California. So let's see what we can find out here. It's important to read the headings. And basically each of these numbers indicates a shipload of 40,000 pound cargo container. So basically one truckload that weighs 40,000 pounds. So this is saying that on October 14th, there were 16 shipments of 40,000 pounds each. On the 15th, there were 15 of those, and so on. And this T means that it went by truck. And if we need a little primer on what those acronyms mean, they're right here. T is truck, export, R for rail, P for piggyback, which means it's a truck trailer on a rail car, and it's being moved by rail to a distribution point where it will be picked up by truck. Boat, that could be either barge or it's most likely an ocean-going freight. Air, which will be very rare for most of your products, and then if something is imported, it will have an I beside it. But most of our products we're exporting, so you won't see that I very frequently. So basically this is telling us that for this entire week, these were the daily shipments. Total this year, there have been over 1,200 of these shipments, and that's a little bit behind the date last year. But the final amount last year was 1,444. So you can see that the shipping season is coming to a close. And the pears from Sacramento Valley also use truck, but there is a little bit, apparently not this week, but there have been a few, 25 loads of pears that have gone by piggyback rail. And that's about half the amount that went at this time last year. So if you look and see across the different types of transportation that's used for your product, and you see the majority of it, obviously here for pears, almost all of the pears that are shipped use truck. The only other type of transportation that's being used right now is piggyback, and that's basically so that it can go across the country rather cheaply on rail and then picked up by a truck at various distribution points. So that will give you a good indication of how your product moves across the country, or if it is an exported product, how it is exported. So hopefully that will help you figure out the transportation issues. To find the steps in the most typical marketing channel for your product, I would suggest to look at this really good resource that some of you already found for your first part of your paper, and it's the Agricultural Marketing Resource Center. And at first glance, you may not realize what a great resource this is. If we scroll down to the bottom of this site, we see that it is partially funded by the USDA, so it's got government credibility, and it's also, the managers of this site are at Iowa State University. So we've got both the government and university personnel working together to give this really keep this information updated. So the best place to start is in the commodities and products. And then you kind of have to pick and choose among your the items. Most of your products are going to fall under fruits, grains and oilseeds, livestock, nuts, specialty crops, or vegetables. Cotton might fall under fiber. Also the same thing with wool and mohair. So let's take a look at fruits. And it gives you an overview, and then it will allow you to choose a particular fruit. So again, we're sticking with pears. Whoever has pears should be pretty happy about this. And a lot of these pages are authored by a particular person. So that is your author. So this would be Melinda Geisler. Pears is the title of the page. The Agricultural Marketing Resource Center is essentially the publisher at Iowa State University, and it's May 2012 is the date. So this will give you a nice overview about, it's basically an overview of U.S. production, but it will give you an idea of per capita consumption. It will give you an idea about whether we are a net exporter or importer, and it will also give you a lot of links. Now, you have to pay attention to these links. Some of them may not fit my requirements for being in the proper area. Some of them might be geared more toward the home gardener. So you still have to keep your thinking cap on and be sure that you're correct, that you're getting the right information. But there are a lot of links, and you should be able to find some helpful information here. So, but pay attention to the source, pay attention to the date, because you can see some of these are rather old. Some of them might be in the 1990s. So be careful what you click on here. But I would suggest that you could find some good information about the marketing channel. And you can see here that the links were checked in May 2012. So once in a while we find that the links aren't active any longer. So just be careful for that. Well, that gives you a good overview for your project. Hopefully you found this helpful. If you have other questions, please come see me in my office. I'll be glad to give you some more guidance. Thanks.